What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another podcast of Moving the Needle with Jared and Brett. Super excited to have another podcast here. We're going to really be focusing in and talking about the team dynamic, college sports, really particularly our experience, a little bit of corporate conversation about our experience in business and teams. But first and foremost, we'll definitely start with wins and learns. Brett, would you like to start us off with wins and learns?
Yeah, I can go first real quick. Win-wise, definitely it's been super exciting for me in the workforce or in the field specifically. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought for some reason. So specifically when it comes to work for our win, it's been super busy for us recently, just with launching some more networks. So it's kind of cool for us to see all of our hard work over the last few weeks with getting these sites set up and launched. And I guess this might not make a lot of sense to people who are listening, but we're currently running a new process within our field, our network, I guess, of Amazon, and we're trying to onboard the rest of the network. And so we're kind of at that final step where we are getting to that point to where the rest of the sites are being launched. So over the next few weeks, things are going to be picking up for us that we're at work. But it's super cool just to kind of, that's my win for the week, right? All the hard work is starting to pay off now. And we're getting to that point where we've made a lot of improvements, to where, people are comfortable and we're going to get them onboarded too as well. And then my learn, I know it's kind of like a repetitive, but this week for me, definitely, I took a step back when it comes to motivation. I don't really know what kind of happened. I'm kind of looking back at the week, and I guess I'm not happy with myself, specifically when it comes to that motivation of, staying on task. I definitely got a little lazy. I definitely say for sure where, when it came to tasks at work, when it came to, tasks at the apartment, when it came to working out, right, I kind of just put those things off and kind of, shove them down the list of priorities a little bit and focus on other things. It definitely was relaxing a little too much. Granted, I do think that I did need it, a little bit of that relaxation just to kind of recoup from the stressful work week, as things have been hectic, right? But definitely think that I probably got a little too comfortable and a little too lazy. So that's something definitely that hopefully over this next week, I'll be looking to kind of, improve on and definitely focus on, getting better and getting back on track essentially. So Jared, how was yours? Wins, learns?
Win for me, right off the bat, the first thing that comes to my mind, and I don't need much thinking on it, but played a soccer game last night. I make a point to myself to play at least one soccer game a week. Right now, with everything going on, super busy with marathon prep and businesses. I got a game in last night. We won. It was actually our first win of the season.
There you go.
So it was exciting. We won like 7-6 or something like that. Some wild defense, high. Huh? Yeah, our defense was lacking at the end of the game. Everybody was gassed, and in these types of leagues, it's you're either the one contributing with the scoring, or you're either the one defending. So that was kind of how it was, and it's just a lot of fun to just kind of escape and get out and play. We have such a high concentration of trainings and intensity levels. When we're in college and doing semi-professional stuff, that when you getting into this like recreational type of soccer, it's really, really fun. One, to network and just be able to hear what people are doing in their business. Whether they're leaders or whether they're just regular everyday employees, and just being able to mix it up with everybody. A learn for me this week. It's I've been nostalgic, I guess, a little bit. The last couple days, I've been following our East Bay page and watching these guys play, and the first day that we started college, right? It was like, I still remember it super vividly, right? And fast forward, that was in 2015. We're in 2022. That's almost 7 years ago. Actually, we're through old. 7 years, and it was just kind of one of those things where it's like when you're in the moment and you're young, you hear those seniors say to you, like, hey, enjoy the process. You have no idea how fast it's going to go. And then blink of an eye, you're a senior graduating, and now you're into the corporate life or real world. And it's just, I was talking to this gentleman today, actually, business. He works in Texas, and he was saying, man, if I could just go back and tell my 16, 17-year-old self the things that I know today, man, I would be absolutely on top of the world, be doing everything I could possibly do. And to his point, I responded. I was like, I think anybody that's motivated and driven and has that sense, always, that's just the life pattern. Everybody has that. At some point, they're saying to themselves, God, I wish I could just go back and tell my, so-and-so yeared self to just take it in, enjoy the process, saturate yourself with the people around you and the culture that you learn, and really know that this is just the beginning. And, yeah, it was just kind of, cool. And just, I was thinking about how preseason was when we'd get ready for those games, and just a lot of, so the learn, not to deviate too much from it, the learn from all of that was taking every chapter of your life, taking it with extreme gratitude that, one, you've made it that far, and enjoying every step of it. That's the biggest learn that I had from this week. I've just been watching those guys playing, and just, gosh, if I could have a 5-minute conversation with that entire team, what I would tell them, it's exactly what we were told when we were that age. We were just, young and, didn't fully want to listen. So it's the cycle of life.
It's pretty crazy that you say that too as well, because I didn't know why. I've just been going on Instagram and been seeing all of our old teammates are playing again. It's getting me like, well, I need to get back out there and start kicking the ball around, and I don't know, it just kind of brought back some old memories, like you said, to your point, man, I vividly remember after that first season, our final game, how sad everybody was, when that their careers came to an end, and you're like, what am I kidding? I have 3 more years of this, and the years just fly by. And I mean, to your point, I'm 26 now, I think. Like, Jesus, like,
you are old, 26. I can confirm.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I've been on here a quarter of a century, so it's pretty crazy. And I mean, yeah. I guess that brings me to a question for you and for the podcast is kind of when you started that. I mean, I know you've played soccer your entire life. Soccer's kind of been like your baby, your one love. But when did you kind of know you wanted to play soccer or wanted to continue to play in college? And kind of walk me through your recruitment process. Like what led you to East Bay? What kind of inspired you to, want to continue to play? Because I know a lot of people, just after you play club, you're like, the thought of college, people want to go to these big college party schools, but they can go and, have fun and, network and that kind of stuff. But what kind of made you say, hey, instead of doing that, I want to go to continue to pursue athletics instead of doing that?
Yeah. Loaded question, but excellent.
We might be on this for the rest of the podcast.
We have all these topics. We're probably just going to be talking about this one thing. Yeah. Honestly, I think the biggest thing for me, I always knew that I wanted to play. Completely honestly, I didn't even want to go to college. And
we can get into that topic too as well. I've a lot of info on that.
So, I really truly didn't see college as what it's intended for, going and getting an education. I just saw it for soccer. God, I get a chance to play at a higher level than what I was playing before in club. So, going through the whole process, it was really, really exciting for me. You go through all the recordings, you're able to highlight all of your best moments. You go to these college identification camps. You market yourself, to all these coaches around wherever you're looking to play. And I went to University of the Pacific camps. I went to the Cal State East Bay camps. I went to Dominican camp. So Menlo College. I did all the camps around the area. And it didn't really start. I did Chico as well, actually. And it didn't really start to it really started to dawn on me junior, senior year of where I like kind of lied on that spectrum of level. And I think it was like about junior, senior year, my club coach and I were talking about just kind of realistic, like, where do you see me going? He was like, NAIA, you play NAIA D1, or you could do probably like an NCAA D2, or you get into a little bit more like there's some division 1 schools that you can go to, on the East Coast or Central America. So smaller D1s, that is. So I was like, okay, this is good information, but I wanted to be closer to the family. I wanted to be able to go back home and still see my people in my community. So it was in between Menlo College and Cal State East Bay. And I actually got a phone call from Eric Booch, which was the current coach at Menlo College. And he had actually called me just about 2 hours after Cumbo called me about joining Cal State East Bay. And I was just super, super excited to have the opportunity to play, because at this moment in time, I had a stage 2 ankle roll, and I was on crutches. And both coaches were like, hey, we want you out to a trial practice and to get you out and training with us. And I couldn't do it. So it was a risk for both of them to even take an opportunity for me, because they didn't know how my ankle would heal. So that was the biggest thing for me. Super, super excited to play. And I went through that first year just kind of I'm going to play this year, maybe next year I'll start to, look to maybe go overseas, And then I started to really dig into the community that I started building at East Bay, the other student athletes there. We had a coaching change, and we found ourselves in a leadership position because I think we had 15 guys leave. We were 7 left 2 weeks before training, and the coaches coming in had to pull fast one with, bringing in guys last minute to even fill roster spots. So then we found ourselves in this situation our sophomore year where, we weren't necessarily the captains just yet. Paiva, and I can't remember who the other one was that was our captain. But, we were right there next in line helping them with all of it. And that was really, that was a really cool opportunity for us. There's not a lot of times and opportunities where sophomores, get to have an opportunity at being part of the leadership core in a collegiate soccer team, which I do believe has had huge effects on me as an individual and as someone in the workforce, just working with a team and being somebody that is at a point of contact between a player and a coach, and how you're kind of the intermediary between the two. Was a huge transformation for me as an individual, which has really transformed the way I see work life as well, building and working with teams. So yeah, that was kind of my process. What was yours? Was it similar? Are there any key differences in that kind of experience that you had?
Yeah. So kind of 2 points that I want to bring up off that. One related and then one non-related. I'll go with the non-related one first. But it is kind of crazy. Obviously, you came from the Bay Area, me not coming from much or not far away. But it's kind of crazy. Like we probably grew up playing against each other. You know that?
Yeah,
club soccer wise.
I've thought about
kind of
that.
crazy.
MPLA, yep.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about that. Like honestly, like our paths probably crossed before we even met in college, and kind of to that same point too as well. My recruitment process is a little different, but when it comes to colleges, I also strongly feel that honestly, it was kind of one of those things where if you would have gone to Menlo, I probably would have gone to Menlo, or if you would have gone to East Bay, I probably would have gone to East Bay. I feel like our paths would have crossed either way, because I know one of the things we were being recruited by the same schools, which is pretty cool, and I kind of think that was kind of like that fate. You know what I mean?
I absolutely agree.
No, but my process was definitely a lot different than compared to definitely yours. I think kind of at a younger age, you kind of knew that you wanted to play and to continue to play. For me, I didn't really make that decision until really late in my junior year of high school specifically. So I definitely got a late start to the recruitment process. I was playing soccer, and I guess my youth was kind of surrounded by sports just in general. Growing up, I played baseball, basketball, and soccer. Those were the three main sports that I played. Basketball, I stopped when I was young, but I still love to go out there and shoot the ball around a little bit. But baseball and definitely soccer were my two main sports. And for a while there, to be honest with you, when I was super young, I was playing travel baseball and competitive soccer growing up. So it was a lot for me. I got to the point where actually I hated soccer. And I actually wanted to pursue baseball more than soccer. And then unfortunately, when I was young, going into high school, I had a bad run-in with my kind of club baseball team. It was just a real bad experience for me. And it just I lost my passion for baseball at that time. And I kind of found my way back to soccer specifically. Obviously super thankful for that. But just kind of one of those unfortunate things where, the coaching situation, the thought process behind the team just wasn't there. It's kind of like that bad team environment, and it just led to like my loss of passion for baseball. And I love baseball. Baseball's my favorite sport. I'd rather watch baseball more than soccer. I barely ever watch soccer, let's be honest, but I love baseball. So, for me to obviously just completely lose my interest in baseball means that, the situation obviously wasn't great. But it did lead me obviously back to soccer, which was super nice. So kind of in that same process, right? Late junior years when I kind of decided, hey, you know what? I kind of want to see if I can continue this, through the next couple of years of my life, at least play through college and then kind of call it quits. So I didn't spend too much time when it came to the recruitment process. I definitely, made my videos and did all the sending the emails out and that kind of stuff. So that was definitely something that, I spent time with, but it was one of those where, when it came to, finding a school, I was kind of open to kind of anywhere, and just so happened that East Bay kind of fell into my lap, to where, I got a, pretty good offer and that kind of stuff to head out there. So, obviously I'm super thankful for it. I wouldn't change it for a thing. The amount of people that I've met, the friends that I've made, the community that I've built, obviously meeting you and many others, has been a blessing in disguise in a sense. These are people who I'm going to remember and work with and be with for the rest of my life. So, obviously, like I said, it was a great opportunity, and I wouldn't change it for a thing. So, definitely thankful, for that opportunity, obviously. I guess my next question for you is when you compared like soccer in college compared to soccer in club, specifically, like what were the main differences for you that you specifically saw? And I can kind of tell you mine real quick. The big thing for me obviously was it kind of became more of a job in a sense, in college, whereas like club soccer, it was more of, an experience. It was fun, but obviously college was an experience too as well, but it felt like more of a job, when you went to travel, those were always fun things to do as well, but those are business trips, right? You're trying to get 6 points and come home with 2 wins and hopefully a happy bus ride home. So like, how did that mindset shift for you specifically when you went from playing club to going to that college and to that college environment, I guess?
It was a big difference. I mean, I always took soccer very seriously. From a young age, I always knew I wanted to do something with it. And I always treated every game the same way. But I wasn't going and like, hitting the weights in the morning and doing prehab in the gym and, going to the athletic trainers to, do, mobility work and, ice baths. And I never did any of that stuff. And, then you start, and also it's a release, right? Like soccer and like youth sports is a release, man. You're caged up in a classroom all day long. You need to get out and go run around and move. I was like out of necessity. I'm a super, super active, like high wired individual. Like that soccer was kind of a form of just keeping me in line. And, then moving into college, it's completely different because it turns into like this privilege where you're so blessed to be able to continue your dream of playing. But it comes with its own, more responsibility, right? Like you got to get up we would have early trainings. You'd have to get up at, 5:56, 6 o'clock, get to the gym or get to the locker room 30 minutes prior so you can go get your ankles taped, go get, your mobility work done in the training room. There's so much extra stuff that you have to do in order to maintain your body through that very, very intense but short season. And, we'd have that from, 7:30 to 9:30, 10, and then you're in class all day. And then most of the time, like for us, like, in the evening, we'd go back to the field and like go kick. It's like literally your life. You're there because of soccer. And I just remember that, a lot of people would like, oh yeah, like must be nice to play and, must be nice to be a college athlete and all this. And, it is nice. It's great to be, an athlete, be able to represent your school, but don't think that it's, just some sort of walk in the park and easy, task. It's not. Most college kids, their freshman year, they stay up late and, sleep until, afternoon. Like you don't do that. You don't have a college experience. Like, what did you do the night before? The people that would say that stuff, it's like, what did you do the night before? Well, you were out drinking and partying and staying up way, way past your time. And yeah, there's some athletes that did that, that we know, but did they last all 4 years? No, they didn't. No, maybe a couple. Those are special. Those are special cases.
You just gotta be built different for that.
Yeah. So, the point to all of it is that, it's something that if you want to stay consistent in, you really it was really you kept your head down. You had to keep working. You have to maintain your grades. You're traveling. You continue to have to do your homework. You have to do, keep up with your presentations. I did kinesiology. I was in the sciences. I could never had the opportunity to do any sort of slacking off or laziness with my homework. So, it definitely shaped me into a more studious individual, that way, which I needed. So like you were saying, college isn't for everybody. This is a big topic of conversation. And let's open this Pandora's box, shall we? I don't think it's necessary for every individual. Not everyone's geared the same way. I know people that are more geared in terms of their personality, in terms of, what they want to do in their life, to where they can either just go into the trades or, get into other, other avenues as a profession. It doesn't necessarily mean, I did sales for a year, right? I did sales, door-to-door sales, and dude, nobody, you talk to all those guys, they never went to college. They're the most successful individuals that I had met, in terms of monetary compensation. They were very successful in what they did. They knew their craft. They knew what they were good at, and that's what they executed. But for people that are looking into the sciences, trying to become doctors, stuff of that nature, I think absolutely,
it's a must.
School is a must for sure. For me personally, I think I needed it in a time to grow. I was not necessarily immature by any means when I was going from high school to college, but it definitely shaped me into a different individual, for sure. We went from, young 17-year-olds to, being on your own, networking. You're representing yourself. You can't rely or depend on your parents to help you or shelter you from anything. It's all on you, which I needed that. And that's what's shaped me into who I am today. And, fast forwarding, sophomore, junior year, as we became more and more leaders on our team, we had access, and we were able to network with a lot of the office staff in our athletics department, which, was an amazing opportunity for us as well as individuals, because, we got to work with the leaders of our school. So I'm beyond for school and the necessary disciplines, and anyone that feels like they need it for development and stuff. For me specifically, I needed, but not for everybody.
Yeah,
So,
I would definitely say I agree with a lot of your points, specifically when it comes to the networking, right? With the amount of people that you're going to meet when it comes to, just like I met you. I met all my teammates were people who I'm going to have, and be in contact with the rest of my life. So I think networking wise is definitely something that definitely plays a big role when it comes to college and that kind of stuff. So I think that's something that's super important. But I also believe that you can network outside of college, and that you don't need to go to college necessarily to network. When it comes to, other sides of things too as well, with your point of growing up, right? 100% agree too as well. Like, you are a high school immature child, and when you go to college, you are on your own. The decisions that you make, are going to change and affect your entirety of your life, right? You go do something stupid in college. Granted, I've done that, right?
Yes.
But you go do something stupid in college, right? And you get in trouble, you get busted or whatever. You know what? That doesn't just play an impact on your college experience. That could play an impact on the rest of your life, right? Getting jobs outside of college, that next step, getting into grad school if you want to go do that. So there's a lot of aspects that when it does come to college that, you have to learn, you have to grow up real quick, because if you make that mistake, right, it can impact you. So I think, when it comes to that growth aspect of it, yes, I think that's super important too as well. Now, here we go. When it comes to the academic side of things, and this is definitely bias for me specifically because I'm a communications major. Granted, right? It's communications. It's whatever. I think that, and like I said, I think out of the entirety of college that I had, I maybe learned something in like 3 of my however many classes that I needed. The rest of the classes have had little to no effect on me when it came to me working outside of college. Now, my mom always would tell me sometimes it's not necessarily about what you're learning in college, but it's about getting through it. Right. So doing things that obviously don't want to do, right? It's part of that kind of like that growth mindset in a sense. And the more that I get older, the more that I kind of realize that. But I do also think, though, at the same time, that my opinion's also right too, in the sense that hey, like I'm learning about the printing press from like the 1700s, or I don't even know what I learned in college, but let's be honest, some of the things that for my communications degree, I did not need to learn. That's a
revolutionary piece of history.
Yeah, but I don't care, and I don't need to know that, right? When are we going to use a printing press ever again?
I totally agree.
You know what I mean? Like I get it's so cool and
yeah, 100%.
love that. I don't even know who invented it, but you're sick, dude. But like, we got printers now. We can, we don't even use printing. Paper kills the environment. Like, come on.
Yeah, we just send it in a PDF.
Exactly. Everything's online now. But like, when it came to like a lot of like, the photography courses and the video production courses and the media side of things, like that was super intriguing, super interesting in the way that, the media plays such a big effect in our community and our, society specifically. So, being in those courses were definitely the insightful courses that I definitely say that I learned, and pulled something out of it specifically. So, I guess when it comes to my overall decision of college, I'm like a so-so. Like if you have the opportunity to go, by all means go. But I also think work experience too as well is super important when it comes to like a job or position, right? And like to your point, when it comes to sales, like what are you gonna? I mean, you can learn certain techniques in sales. You read a book, right? Your book's gonna tell you to do X, Y, and Z, but that's not going to physically get you comfortable with doing that, right? I think you can read it, but actually doing it is I think is more important than reading it, right? And I think that's the big point that I guess I'm trying to make here.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, and this is what supports what you're saying, right? So those classes that you took in college for the media and photography and editing, you can just as much cut all the GE shit out.
100%.
Excuse my
Don't
language.
even get me started on that.
Cut all that out.
U.S. history like 6 times.
I know, it's crazy. So you can do that, right? Or what you can do, and I like I think it's in Europe, and this is how it should be. For people that know what they want to do, just have them go straight into their discipline, right? So those are for the specific cases we were talking about earlier. The certain sciences, people that are trying to become doctors, and all that stuff, right? But people like, for example, what you're saying with photography, you can take a photography course that some professional has offered on a course online, maybe
YouTube.
A little bit more pricey. Exactly. Or you can do YouTube. But essentially what I'm saying is like you have these people that have been successful in the business of media or photography, and then they create courses to help people with that, right? Whereas, for me, for example, I've had teachers where they're saying, they're telling you how to, do teach a class or not teach a class. They're trying to teach you how to sell, or they're trying to teach you, how to be some professional. And then it's like, well, have you had that experience before, Mr. or Mrs. Professor? They've never had that in their life. They just teach. So it's one of those things where, depending on what you're looking for that, for example, what you're talking about with photography, you can find a course taught by somebody that is done it their entire life, and you can cut all the extra crap out.
Yeah, simple. And I think to your point, your very first point of that kind of comment and that statement was when you look at the social dynamic of college in the U.S. versus college in Europe, and I mean living in Europe, right? I got to see that firsthand. One of the things that when I was out there in Europe, one of the things that I could take advantage of was going to university. That was one of my original goals of when I was moving out there, obviously knowing that I had not finished my degree, looking to get into a college to where my credits could transfer over, or, I could finish my degree, at a university. Do you know how much it costs for a university? Or I'll just base it off of the university in the city that I lived in. How much do you think it cost a semester?
Very little, I would imagine.
I think it was like 200 euros a semester. Like for as many credits as you want. And to my point with that is you have some of these institutions and these schools where you're paying $50,000-$60,000 worth of money to go and get an education, and then you have countries like where I was in Germany, where like when like to your point, when these kids finish their high school or whatever they call it over there, like it's if you want to go and pursue college and get a further education, go for it. But it's not a necessity, whereas it is like, I feel like it's kind of becoming a necessity over here. Like if you don't have a college degree here, like you can't be successful in this kind of stuff, which I don't agree with. I think you can be just as successful. I'm a technically I'm considered a first generation college student. Both my parents don't have degrees.
I definitely believe that recently, in the last couple of years, there's been more of a trend towards, you can be successful without a degree.
I think your mindset has changed too the further you've gotten outside of college. Because I remember in college, I used to have the same argument, and you used to tell me that I was an idiot.
Hey man, when I say stuff like back then, that was my own, I was speaking on my own experience of what I had seen in the world. But, you come visit me in a couple years and I can guarantee you things have changed. And I think if someone stays in their mindset for as long as they have and they don't change any outlook on their life, they should probably evaluate themselves just a little bit.
Yeah. And to that point, I never disagreed with you. I just always, I like to play devil's advocate sometimes, but in my mind, I agreed with your point. It's not that I ever, told you like, hey, you're an idiot. Like what you believe is wrong, right? We had that conversation, obviously, and that's kind of how I felt, and you felt opposite. But you know what? There are things that, I don't agree with in the past that I agree with now. So it's like, you grow, you learn. The older you get, the more life experience you get, the more you kind of learn and, I guess, in a sense, getting more knowledgeable, if you want to say that.
Exactly. We wise up.
Exactly. Crazy how far we've come, man. But I guess, kind of coming from that college aspect when it comes from recruiting to recruiting in the workforce, like how big of an impact or how big of an impact did college so 2 questions here, maybe 3. How big of an impact did college recruiting for athletics have on your experience with recruiting for your career? And do
you have these all written down? Because I'm going to go at them one by one.
All right, let me write this down real quick. So, question number 1 is how big of an impact did college recruiting have on recruiting for your workforce or your work career? And then number 2 would be like how has that helped you with interview prep or when it comes to selling yourself, I guess, in a sense. That one kind of doesn't relate, but
okay. And then 3 was there a 3 or no?
Let's roll with those 2 and we'll see where it goes.
Okay. Impact on college recruiting have on my career. Honestly, life is a sale. That's the biggest thing. Every single thing, right? Every single thing in life, and this is like the biggest kind of change in my mindset, is everything is a sale, right? Like you're selling your skill, you're selling your mindset, you're selling your attributes to whatever physical thing that is looking into you as a prospect. So, for example, right, a relationship, you're working on selling yourself to show that other person how much better their life would be with you in it. That's a sale. So, and that was the same thing with recruiting, right? We're trying to build these videos, trying to email these coaches and explain to them how our skills as a center back or center defensive midfielder would be superior to somebody else based on X, Y, Z. This is how tall I am. This is how much I weigh. This is my background in soccer playing style. All of these things are simple sales skills in the workforce. And then going and kind of spinning that off, right? You have to know how to compliment yourself. You always need to know when the right time is in an interview. So kind of going into the next question of interviewing, always know when to edify yourself in a conversation. This is what I'm good at, and this is an example of that. You don't want to sell yourself short by any means. And that was, when I was doing it for soccer, I was like bragging about myself. Like, this is what I've done. And my brother Jamie, he just went through the interviewing process, and the biggest thing for him as well was show them exactly what they would be missing if they didn't go with you. Whether it's, verbally giving them a history lesson on things that you've done in the past, physically showing them if it's like a practical, which is what it was, a practical for him in his instance. But that's the biggest thing that I learned from the whole recruiting processes. And then now, right, I have, I work on a team. I work on helping with building. I've worked in the past with helping build new teams. And when that's a whole different story in itself, that's for another topic. But the biggest, yes, life of sales, if anyone says they're not good at sales, they're, they do it every day. They just don't realize.
I think to your point though, and something that I definitely struggle with too as well is I feel like when you come from such a team environment, specifically when it comes to like sports, right? I personally can't win us the game, right? The team can win us the game. We can win us the game. I can do things that help us win the game, right? But I think you have, like, when it comes to that interview style or that interview prep, you kind of have to have that I guess in that I can do this, I can do that, or you kind of, I've always been taught that it's the team, right? It's never me, it's the team. And for me, that's kind of where I struggle with when it comes to interviews and that kind of stuff. I've always, been able to prepare really well to where I have my stories, I have my data to help back me up as the reason as to why I can make this impact and that impact and how I can help X, Y, and Z. But when it comes to, like, you have to find that mindset of, like, I guess kind of being not cocky, but, confident in yourself that, I can do this, I can do that. Which is something that I find super intriguing when it comes to, I guess, the biggest differences between college recruiting, and the workforce. But I guess in the same side of thing, it is the same concept of what you're saying. Does that make sense? Like, when you look at it from a sports dynamic as a whole, it's a we. But when it comes down to the very personal side of things, it has to be kind of like, I can do this for you. I can with my experience based off of X, Y, and Z, I can make this impact.
And to kind of just feed off of what you're saying, the mindset of it is not cockiness, it's confidence. Yeah. That's the biggest mindset that you should have, is that I'm not being cocky with my skill, I'm being confident with it. I know what I can provide, and it's not an I, because the I never gets you anywhere. It's the we. But you have individual, like on a team dynamic, right? You have a specific skill that you are set to do on the field. When one individual doesn't do what they are supposed to do on the field, there's a chain link reaction to what goes on afterwards. That person doesn't do their job. Then if I don't correct them, then I am going to start supplementally doing their job. And then the next person next to me is going to start doing parts of my job because I'm covering someone else and I'm spreading myself too thin. So it is important to be able to edify yourself and be able to say confidently, these are the things that I can bring to the table, sports team sense, but also being an employee to an employer is very important, because all of those things that you talk about encompass what builds a great team.
Yeah. And
individual skills.
Yeah. And I think that kind of brings me to my next point is, when you talk about the impact of culture, specifically on a team when it comes to sports, and culture within a workforce, and kind of when it comes to that buy-in, that buying in of, in order to be successful, we need people to be bought into this process or whatever. Like how impactful, and I know your answer, but I'm asking you obviously because I want to have you share your opinion. But how impactful is culture in a workforce, in a team, and what are some of downfalls of what bad cultures can lead to, and people not buying in. Like how does that affect the team? And I guess in a sense, you kind of know where I'm going. Like I want to bring that topic up, I guess, in a sense, because I think for me that's something that right now that in my current position here, and it's something that we dealt with in colleges is you have people who are coming in as freshmen. They are they grew up playing a certain style with their club. They grew up playing a certain, position and that kind of stuff. And, college soccer and college sports in general can be a culture shock, essentially, right? You are going from playing in your specific age group to now playing with men who are anywhere from your same age to 4 or 5 years older than you. You are playing against people who are 25 pounds heavier than you, who have, been lifting weights the last 4 years to get them kind of, strength and ready for that position. Or, how does, hey, I grew up playing soccer. I've always been a center mid. Well, guess what? Now you're playing right back or left back because that's what you're going to be suited. And I guess my point is like, when we talk about this buy-in and this culture, like, people have to be, in order to have a successful team, people have to be willing to not only make changes for the team, but also, have that mindset to be, hey, like I'm changing my position from a center mid to a right back because that's going to help our team succeed and be the best when it comes to that next level. Kind of thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. Well, great question. I think the biggest thing, it all starts with the leader. There's a book, Full Accountability, Jocko Willink, exceptional book, talks about taking accountability for your actions as a leader and making sure that down the chain of command, your communication is understood throughout the entire rank. And I think that's a really, really key thing. And it all starts with the leader because that's the message that first needs to be announced to everybody. Everyone needs to know exactly what the role is of the team. As soon as they get brought on to any sort of team, they should know the expectation that's expected of them. And I think a lot of that, in terms of kind of taking a step back from that really quickly, is finding the common ground. So for us, right? Look, we understand that you're coming in, you're fresh, you're young, you think you know everything about, the situation of a team, of this team, on how things are going to run. Just understand that the way things will work is X, Y, Z. And these are the expectations that we have for you. And these are going to be the roles that you are going to have to follow during the next, so-and-so amounts of time to ensure that everyone is formulating the right plans and the right, executing the right actions for whatever their position is, right? And it always has to be the mentality of, for my team, what can I do? And if you can, when you preach this to somebody, what can you do for that teammate, right? You and I felt like you and I were very, very adamant about the communication aspect. We opened full lines of communication as soon as we knew of a new player coming in for the new class. We'd introduce ourselves to them. We would talk to them, get them, accustomed to who we were as leaders, and then hopefully giving them any insight along the way to get them ready to transition into the new season. And I felt for us as a team, that made us extremely close, and it caused a lot of strength in the unit. These guys are the team that we built at East Bay. They're brothers for life. Everyone on that team, we would go to battle for each other every single day. But that doesn't mean that there were some players that, they would, they need to, one, have the understanding and the capacity to want to perform for everybody. It's not just this is what we expect from you, because we expected a lot from some individuals, and they just didn't have it in them to really perform. So that what I kind of explained before with the whole accountability thing is this is what the vetting process is for. This is what taking people through what it's in the specific application of sports, taking them through the workouts, taking them through trainings, taking them through certain rigors of a game, that you can actually understand who they are as an individual, to the point where you can make a confident, calculated decision whether or not you'd like to move forward with this athlete, because you can see them on your team. So,
yeah, and I think kind of to your point, as you were kind of saying that, one of the really reasons why I brought this up, it's something I'm right now, I wouldn't say struggling with, but we're dealing with specifically with these new launches of sites kind of that we're onboarding over the next few weeks. And the big thing that with Amazon is we have our Amazon leadership principles. And one of the big things is building trust, and the customer obsession, obviously. So kind of to give you a little bit of a background is we're building trust with our customers, and our customers are these sites. And when it comes to our processes, is we have, our standard of works, we have, our expectations that we have set forth for ourselves as well as our sites. And hypothetically, not saying anybody at work does this, but if we have somebody who's not bought in, like we're talking, like the company could lose millions and millions of dollars worth of, cost specifically, right? Where somebody is not Eddie or Johnny over here from, the site, is communicating with one of our associates, and isn't bought into the process, and, doesn't trust, and doesn't build that relationship with the site or X, Y, and Z. All these different factors, can kind of play into a certain situation. And, that trust is broken with that site, and we're not able to build that trust, and our customer obsession kind of goes out the window. And I mean, you look at it at the end of the day, like we're talking about millions of dollars worth of cost. So it's super important when we talk about this customer obsession and building a team, and how important it is to have people bought in. When you look at it from the field aspect of things, right? If you have like that, I guess that cancer in a sense, or, that one person who's not fully bought in, how it can affect the entire team. And you see that same exact thing in the workforce specifically too, as well. Same concept, but different, I guess, outlook in a sense.
Yeah, it's like a different application. I mean, teams are teams, and the psychology of team very similar between workforce and like a team setting. It's just there's different things you're going for. You're going through for deadlines in corporate, and then you're going towards type of winning season, and the performance on the field or court with sports.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty cool. It all relates. I mean,
yeah,
go for it.
It's one of those things where, anybody that's extremely good at what they do, they have some sort of obsession with it. And I'd say when we were like involved at East Bay, I had an obsession with leadership. I had an obsession with, I always wanted to do my best, my best possible attempt. Well, not attempt. I don't like that word. The best possible execution, to be the best leader I could for, my teammates, and not only on the field, but also off the field, with other sports. We were very lucky, and we were able to be invited to train as well as compete with our track and field team, our junior and senior year. And it was a very, very, I was very blessed to be able to have the opportunity, because we kind of got to learn a whole different culture of team, where it's an individual, you're competing in an individual competition, but we're all competing for points. And we were kind of like, we didn't really get the opportunity to train a whole lot for these competitions, but we were kind of like the the environment, the culture guys. We wanted to bring energy into the team. And I just remember it was what was it? It was
this conference.
We were at the conference championship in San Diego, and I think it was Claire. She was killing it on the track. I think it was Claire. And we were cheering, we were chanting, and then Chico, who's known for their track team, and they had, we were beating them, and their team started copying our chant, and it was the greatest thing. It felt that felt really great for them to be, copying us of what our team was doing.
And obviously we won.
And we did. And
we did win.
It's just that's a whole nother dynamic. And, we were able to get everybody together and they're not competing at that moment. They're not on the struggle bus that she was on at the moment, but it's the idea of camaraderie and the support group that you have as a team, individual or not, to really feel for that person in the process at the moment and really push them through, because at the end, really, you're going to benefit tremendously if you help with the support. So
yeah, it's kind of crazy when you talk about that kind of experience when it came to track. Obviously we did it for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Granted we weren't like qualifying for conference and that kind of stuff. We were there running the 4x1 and the 4x4, so we were more there as kind of an extra person, which was obviously a super cool experience.
Fillers.
You kind of got to see that experience, but it's kind of crazy how different of a sport it was, but how kind of that same similarities you had, before a game for soccer versus before a race for, I remember I guess the one, I always get nervous before games, obviously. Like I don't want to say nervous, but you get angsty, right? You just want to get going. The worst games were the 7:00 games at night, because you had all day to sit around. And granted, right, obviously we play, Friday, Sunday, so our 7:00 games are on Friday nights. So, we wake up, we go to our pre-morning run, stretch, kind of kicking the ball around, kind of kick it out. But now you have from 8 o'clock to, we don't have to be in the field till 4 o'clock. So now we have, a long time to kill. And those were always the worst, but they were also always fun because you had to play under the lights. But, it's kind of, you get that angstiness, and it's kind of cool to see how similar it was when I got to track. And even for something that I obviously cared about, right? I wanted to go out there and I wanted to do my best. I wanted to perform for the team, knowing that I had no experience, and I was just out there just to run. And, I remember I blocked out on the line on my first 400, and I remember just taking off, and it was you don't remember much until I remember coming around the final, and at the 300 mark, coming around the final straightaway, final 100, and I almost fell. I was wearing the track spikes, and I almost kicked the dirt. But
yeah.
It's super cool to see the different kind of, I guess, mindsets when it came to, from the team environment to still a team environment, but more of an individual team environment, and how that all kind of played. So definitely a cool experience, and definitely something that, I'll remember forever. And, definitely got to meet a lot of cool people as well on the track team, which is super cool. So
yeah, it was a lot of personal development for us. And super, super grateful to have that opportunity as individuals, especially our senior year. I kind of taking it all in, just every experience possible. And honestly, any opportunity that we had to kind of extend our season just a little bit more was something I was highly seeking.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I think if I wouldn't gone to Germany, I would have asked Tony to run one more year, at least finish off my last year of eligibility and run one more track season, because that was a lot of fun for me, and definitely a cool environment. I kind of wanted to see if I were to truly train, how fast I could have really gotten. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, that junior year when I first ran, I was a little fat. Oh, not gonna lie,
a little pudge.
Yeah, I was a little hefty for sure. I enjoyed that off season of soccer a little too much, but put on a little too much muscle when it came to the lifting aspect, and definitely did a few other things that didn't help either. So
that's okay.
It is what it is, though. Got to have that wind down that off season.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, man, it was, that stage is kind of the foundation for us of, what's made us into the people we are today, and in the teams that we lead or the teams that we're involved with and the companies that we represent. So a lot of the development and the way that I am today, and I know the way you are today, has a lot to do with the experiences that we had in college and on the team, which goes back to the point of, was college worth it for us? I think so.
I guess so. I guess that's the final remarks right there.
100%.
There you go.
But I think that is a good wrap up for us today. But I do know that we need to go over goals for the next week into our next podcast. Brett, let's kick it away.
Here we go.
Yep.
Let's see. I think for me, I want to challenge myself to write my stuff down on my laptop when it comes to work, just to make sure that I kind of have my tasks that I can go through each day and just kind of check it off. So kind of make that mental note and that physical note to where I can go through each day. The things I need to get done, things I need to prioritize, essentially the things that I struggled with this last week. Prioritize that stuff and make sure I get that stuff knocked out, especially with how busy things are getting at work. Need to make sure I don't slack off, and I'm not saying that I am slacking off, but making sure that, the things that I need to get done, I'm getting done in a timely manner and not waiting until the very last minute to, cram it in and, fall behind. So that's something for me that I definitely want to work on this week, and going to be a goal that I actually did today, which kind of worked out. So I have some stuff that I got to knock out tomorrow at work. So we'll get in there tomorrow morning and kill it. What about you?
Nice. I'd say probably the goal for the next week is, man, I always have to really think extra because a goal of mine, I would say, is going to be journaling. I think. I don't think I know. I know that journaling in my life has definitely helped a lot. I'm a very, very fast-paced thinker, and sometimes I need that escape to be able to put something down on paper, be able to visit it at a later date. Helps me with just organization of thoughts. And when I do that, I find like my anxiousness is alleviated a lot. And my rampant thinking is alleviated as well. So I'm definitely going to work more on journaling the next couple of days, just to really, get back that principle of just mindfulness.
I like that. I think I don't want to spend too much more time. I know we're kind of wrapping up, but I think that's super important when you talk about, that angstiness of just being able to write it down. Kind of just allows you to get that off your shoulders, allows you to physically, like, I guess in a non-verbal way, say it in a sense, to where it allows you to kind of get that off your chest and get that off your shoulders, which is super cool. So that's a great challenge. I think that's a great goal for this week, and stick to it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, with that being said, Brett, it's always a pleasure to hop on the podcast with you. Everybody, thank you for listening to this show. If you do like what we're talking about and have some suggestions on what you'd like to listen to next time, please leave a comment below and give us a thumbs up. We would like to grow this a lot. And of course, the only way to do that is to be able to cater to the people listening. So whatever you would like to hear us talk about on these podcasts, please give us your thoughts in the comments below. Give us a like, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Have a good one.